Ciao Milanisti and welcome back. And yes, we have finally signed Charles De Ketelaere. It's even been so long I've learned how to pronounce his name. I can stop calling him CDK and can call him De Ketelaere. And it's Charles instead of Charles. It took a bit of time. I'm a slow burner, so stick with me. We signed the player finally, and it's been a long wait for us fans. Obviously, we signed Origi as a free transfer. We bought Macias outright. We bought Florenzi outright. The returnees and the loan deals. We've kind of been waiting for that one little signing, with a big amount of money to hopefully springboard us into the next stage of our momentum as a club, and someone that we can put up front with Rafael Leao and co, and actually contribute to some good amount of stats and goals. Look, we're going to be talking about De Ketelaere today. I've done a lot of research on the player, obviously having all this time to look into it, the rumour mill. I did want to see what he could potentially add to us, so I did my best to break down what I could. I'm not an avid watcher of Belgian football, but I was able to do is get a good grasp of what he can bring to the table, reading a lot of reports about the player, watching videos where I could, extensive videos of seeing his obviously individual attributes and compilations. That's one thing, but obviously reading reports and what some professional people and people that watch him quite often was quite intriguing to see what he could add to this side. So I think this is going to be a breakdown of the player, what we should expect to see next season when he this season, this pre-season, and obviously next season coming up, what he's going to do when he wears the AC Milan shirt, and obviously a few good things to look out for. Before I quickly jump into that, the new Milan jersey's been released, and obviously I did my video last week talking about the difference between the authentic and the replica one with this top I'm wearing right now. Obviously, the sort of the solution I had at the end of the video was go for the replica one if you are want that sort of fan feel. If you're sort of don't want to be surprised and stay away from the authentic one. It's more pricier. I think you'll be a little bit more disappointed just because of the materials being used. Go with the replica one. It looks beautiful. The new away top, I'll probably be buying it at some point this season. Even the new goalkeeping top. It's not up yet on the sale on the store, but it looks beautiful. It's sort of like plum purple colour, obviously with our lovely Mike Mignon wearing it. Obviously makes it look like 10 times better. So really nice new shirts coming out. When you talk about the transfer market, there's a few names still in the mist. Japhet Tanganga from Tottenham. Renato Sanchez's situation is yet to be revealed at the point of me making this video. I still live in hope, but it's becoming obviously quite frustrating the longer this goes on that he should really be selecting us at this point before PSG, but Mendes is Mendes. And then obviously a few other names swinging about as well between a good defender coming out of Germany, Aston Villa's the centre midfielder, a very young prospect talent there, but I'm not really going to talk about that until there's more concrete information if we are going to actually make a bid and go from there. So, Charles De Ketelaere, where can we start? The number 90 from Club Bruges, or as I dub him, the Belgian Swiss Army knife. And we'll come on to why I call him that, and you can kind of get the reference if you think about it right now. He's a top talent. I think a lot of clubs probably would have been after him maybe next summer with a bit more Champions League experience. Our competition would have increased exponentially. But Maldini and Massara saw it as a priority after the whole Botman deal sort of collapsed, that they were going to put their resources into the attacking department, and rightfully so, because I do think that is the department that needs the most work. We talk about the right wing, we talk about the attacking midfield, and we'll come on to how we can sort of be all of these in one, and then some. Maldini and Massara went to Bruges on Wednesday to speak directly to the club, to the player's agent, and obviously flesh out some good little stomping ground when it comes down to not wanting to get into a bidding war, the whole project, everything, and sort of getting some good grounds with the club. And obviously the deal is going to be set to be done around 30 to 35 million euros when you incorporate the bonuses. I'm not quite sure yet on the sort of the future resale percentages when it comes into it, but I really don't want to talk about the ins and out of the deal. I think he's going to be earning around 2.5 million euros a year, which is quite good when you look at our sort of overall salary in the books. But he's 22 years old. It kind of fits in with the whole mold of what we have here. So, really I want to talk about the player himself, his previous stats from Club Bruges, some good experience in the Champions League, quite surprisingly, despite his age, and obviously the player profile itself. So if we look at the playing history of Charles De Ketelaere at Club Bruges, mainly he made his senior debut in 2019. I think his first game was against PSG in the Champions League. It was a 5-0 rout, obviously by PSG at the time, but he got some, I think about 50 to 60 minutes in the game, was probably some good exposure to a high level of football, despite being very green, very young at the age of 2019 with Club Bruges that probably aren't going to be in a position to compete in European football. Since then, he's played 120 games for Club Bruges. He scored 25 goals and contributed to 20 assists. Since 2019, he's also played 16 Champions League games, which is really good when you consider the fact how many our players have actually played, other than the likes of, Divock Origi, Olivier Giroud, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Florenzi. The rest really are quite green in this competition, so it's good to have someone who's actually got a bit more experience in this competition, despite the fact he's kind of younger than most of the supporting cast in the side. Look, last season he played 49 games, contributed to 18 goals and got 10 assists. They're obviously the best sort of increase in his statistical performances. Probably one thing, if you're playing that many games and you're playing in these advanced positions, I would like to see him scoring more goals. We'll come on to that shortly as maybe as a potential weakness. But at the same time, he's not a natural centre forward, and he does contribute to the overall aspect of the side, especially defensively in the pressing aspect. And lastly, I'll talk about his injury history. He's clean, completely clean. I think he's had one injury. I know he missed 2 games at the time as a shoulder injury, and he's also had COVID as well. So one injury in his whole senior playing career so far at Club Brugge. So he's coming into us without this fear that he's a Renato Sanchez injury prone, or a Giroud or something like that. He's not really suffering from that. He's really at the starting point of his career, and hopefully this is the springboard with a better side around him that he can evolve, add to the statistical part of his game, and obviously help us contribute to this side. So if I can pick up the easiest word I can sum up De Ketelaere is probably his versatility, versatile. If you look at the amount of positions he's played, and I think this has been well documented, of the reason why Milan want him is because of his versatility, that he can play across the whole front line. I looked at his stats in the previous performances for Club Brugge, mostly a centre forward, but I have to note it's kind of like a hybrid one because of the way he presses, and also comes back and helps the attacking midfielders press as well. It's not as if he just presses the centre forwards, the centre backs even, and that's it. He does really help out, kind of track back, lock down the DM, lock down the left back or the right back, depending on what side of the pitch he's on. He does a lot of work with a sort of like this aggression, this mentality to win the ball back as quick as possible, which is something we really need, and it's something that's going to be very different to our sort of attacking options up front. So yes, a lot of experience in the centre forward position, but even so, he has played attacking midfield. He's played at the right side. He's played on the left side. He's played as a left midfielder, not also just a left winger. He's played as a centre mid. I think his debut kind of came around the centre mid position. So very intriguing how we can play in different positions. And you'd like to think, all right, is it because, is there a drop-off with the different positions that he plays in? There isn't. There isn't, because he still has the great technical ability, which we'll come on to play in all these different roles. But he has one thing which is great and key for being this diverse, is the fact he has great positional awareness. It doesn't matter where he is on the pitch. He kind of knows where the pressing might come from. He kind of knows where the players around him are going to be. It's not like he looks like a fish out of water if you put him on the right or the left. Something we've seen with someone like Rebic on the right, or maybe Leao on the right. It comes natural to him. And I think that is so key. The versatility that he can offer us is so key, because you can plug him in holes when maybe players are injured or players are tired and you need to rotate it around a little bit, or even got injuries up front. God knows we have like players like Ibrahimovic and obviously an older Giroud. We're going to need someone to sort of plug those holes. But he does have that in his locker that, maybe he can lock down his centre attacking midfield position, because we all kind of see him as that, the cam. Of course we do. But the beauty of signing this player is that he can give you so much more. Or even if you change formations, he can adapt to that as well. If we potentially look to a back three and we want to have him and Rafael Leao behind the centre forward, he'd suit that perfectly, because he does that for Belgium, the times he plays for them as well. So his versatility is the first thing I'm going to talk about. Before I get onto his technical ability, I have to talk about his teamwork mentality. It's so good. From what I've seen, it's really good. And I think that's, in modern football, you need that. You need that will to get the ball back as quick as possible from the opponent and control possession. And I think his ball recovery, his pressing, ticks all those boxes. And as someone, we can talk about like players like Salamakers and Macias are putting a hard work in. But then if you have the output on the other end of the spectrum as well to win the ball back and then do something with it to contribute to maybe assists or build-up play or even goals, that's something that we needed. That's why I really like players like Ziyech, for example. But De Ketelaere having this in his locker is great. And then we'll come on to the technical ability. He's got a good passing range, good shot selection. I made notes of these down here. The aerial ability as well. He comes in at 6'4", so he's kind of one of our most taller options up front, especially when you compare it to the likes of Brahim Diaz. And to have that in the box, the crosses coming in and he's there popping up with little headers here and there, and he's done that before at Club Brugge, is so crucial because it adds another layer to our game. And I'd say as well his strength. Obviously, you've got that frame, you've got that massive height. the strength that he has to hold off defensive pressing midfielders and then shift it into position with the burst of acceleration to go the other way. He's got this really good ability to do that. So I kind of look at him, I said at the start of this video, but the whole Swiss Army knife comparison, he is a very jack of all trades, but can he become a master of some of these sort of attributes? Maybe as his career develops and gets him more into a better passing range, really locks down one position entirely. But at the same time, we're going to really enjoy the fruits of his labour when it comes to the fact he can play many positions, the fact that he has all these abilities in his locker, and sort of really tap into different points depending on who we have around him to sort of support this season. So breaking it down to a few points, why are we signing Charles De Ketelaere? Look, firstly, it's the way we play football. Milan plays with a modern philosophy of, no reference point. Purely said this many times before. Players like Rebic and, not having a point of reference, that we are so static that it becomes predictable for oppositions to sort of understand how we're going to play or sort of break teams down, especially offensively. Someone like De Ketelaere is perfect because he plays so well in between the lines. He can play an array of positions. It's very hard to pick up when he can swap and change. And I feel like Pioli wants to get it down that route. Get it that, players can pop up in an array of positions. They don't have to have their one way of getting their shot off, and it's got it's going to be that or nothing. Leao's really working on his game in that aspect, so to have another player in the attacking department that can do the same thing is great as well. Another thing as well, in the way we play football, is the pressing nature. He does that so well, and if you can get someone that can win the ball over and turn it over in the opponent's possession and turning it into goals and shots on goals and goals itself, is exactly where we need to be going forward, because that's the best way you can sort of create your own opportunities and get those moments in isolation when we have players with speed like Leao. And the fact that Charles De Ketelaere, can't even get my words out now, can do that is great. The fact he can win the ball back as much as he does, perfect. The pressing nature he brings to this side, he's got incredible potential. It's like I said before, what's that aspect to his game that he's really going to master? The fact that we're going to see that is so great. What's the next stage for him and his development? Is it his passing? Is it his shooting? It could be anything really. So, and to have this ready so far at this age is great, and it really just sort of fits in perfectly with these young, great players we have at this side right now. And I think he's going to be our wildcard player, and I think we need that, especially after last season. We need to take the load slightly off Leao. Of course, he's sort of evolving into this really world-class player, but we need someone else to go alongside him to really contribute to the stats, to really contribute to the goals and the assists. I'm hoping this is player now. So that's really the breakdown of Charles De Ketelaere. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it gives you a bit more of an insightful preview to what we're going to expect with the player. I expect good things. I think we've been sort of waiting for a player to come in the attacking department around the same price tag as Rafael Leao, and I do feel like our scouting is so good. The way we train players is so good, and our systematic values of the modern way we play football is so good that it's all going to work and sort of be in unison and obviously make us sort of achieve great things next season. So that's it for this week, guys. We finally signed the player. Hopefully a few more to come as well because we flesh out this squad. And until next time, guys, Forza Milan.